So Gojo vs Sukuna, the battle of the strongest, is coming into its final stages, and the fight is looking very even at the moment. In chapter 231, the countdown has begun for Maharaga's will to adapt to Gojo's infinity. It is unclear as to whether Gojo will instantly lose once Sukuna can adapt to infinity, but looking at everyone's reactions, it seems that Gojo's odds are going to be much lower without him being able to use infinity. So theoretically, Sukuna just needs to stall until Maharaga's will is able to click 3 more times. But Gojo obviously isn't going to sit around and let that happen. In chapter 231, Gojo was rocking Sukuna, and I'd assume if that continues, it is unlikely that Sukuna will be able to survive much longer. Narratively speaking, it makes a lot of sense for Gojo to lose, but currently the odds are stacked in his favour, so realistically, Sukuna is going to have to pull out a trump card in order to overwhelm Gojo in this fight. So in this video, I'm going to go through my favourite theory on Sukuna's new power-up to defeat Gojo. But if you have any of your own theories, then leave them in the comments down below, and I might do a part 2 if I get enough theories. Also, whilst you're down there, make sure to like and subscribe if you are enjoying my content at the moment. I'm uploading tons of Jujutsu Kaisen theory videos, especially whilst the manga is on a week break. But without further ado, let's get into this theory. So this theory is going to involve the black box attack, which Sukuna utilised against Jogo. This is actually my favourite theory, as well as being the most likely to actually happen. This is because we actually got some clarity on what black box actually is from Kusakabe. The likelihood is Gege wouldn't bring up such an old phrase or technique without using it, although he has definitely done stuff like this before. So the black box of a sorcerer is actually the location inside the brain where a user's curse technique is stored. So previously we thought that when Sukuna stated black box open, he was just saying the name of a technique. In this case scenario, it was the fire arrow that he brought out against Jogo. But now we realise what the black box actually is, it gives a whole new meaning to Sukuna's statement. In the fight, Sukuna is shocked to realise that Jogo doesn't understand what Sukuna meant by opening his black box, as well as Sukuna having access to flames. Perhaps during the Heian era, this technique was commonly used by sorcerers. Sukuna also mentions that he will not reveal his true curse technique, which makes me think that due to the format of the panels, it actually has something to do with the black box. My thought about this statement was that Sukuna has access to a bank of curse techniques inside of his brain. So the theory as to how Sukuna has accumulated such a bank are actually insane. Recently, I covered the idea that Sukuna has soul manipulation, and I think that this theory holds some weight in this discussion. Say for instance that instead of Mahito's idol transfiguration, where Mahito will alter the shape of people's souls as well as his own soul, Sukuna can absorb other people's souls instead. This would be similar to Kenjaku's body swapping technique, where he's able to accumulate a bank of curse techniques from the user's body that he switches with, as well as that user's cursed energy. However, in this case scenario, it is not necessary for Sukuna to switch bodies, and he can simply accumulate lots and lots of different souls and cursed energy. This would make perfect sense as to why Sukuna is the king of curses. Not only would he have immense cursed energy from all the people's souls that he's accumulated, but he would have hundreds of different cursed techniques at his disposal. Perhaps the way Sukuna can absorb a soul is by eating them. I remember that at some point in the story it is hinted that Sukuna used to eat any sorcerer or curse he defeated. This would mean that he has a good understanding of the soul already, and hence why he's able to resist idol transfiguration. The only problem with this theory being that if Sukuna was to eat Satoru Gojo, then he would have access to unlimited void. This would make Sukuna unkillable, and obviously Gege isn't going to do that. The only potential way to get out of this problem of Sukuna gaining 6 eyes and limitless would be to say that Sukuna's black box is at its max capacity. Now to call it a black box meaning that it has some actual physical dimensions. This means it's not going to be some bottomless pit where Sukuna can just chuck cursed techniques and then pull them out whenever he needs to. Instead, he's likely reached his maximum capacity, meaning that he can't actually absorb or take in any new curse techniques. This would explain why Sukuna didn't just grow exponentially and destroy the planet, because he has finally reached his limit of his true curse technique. I think this makes a lot more sense than Sukuna absorbing an unlimited amount of sorcerers and cursed spirits. If he was able to do that, his cursed energy would be seemingly infinite, even higher than Yuta's, and his arsenal of cursed techniques would be broken. Think about every single strong user in the series, Sukuna would be able to take their cursed technique and literally use it against the next one. But obviously there would be the limitation that once Sukuna takes in a cursed technique, he can't get rid of it. This would go in line with the information we just received, that when a user learns a cursed technique, it is engraved into their brain. So similar to some engraving on a metal, Once you do it, you can't actually undo it. And Sukuna is theoretically filled to the maximum capacity his metal sheet in this example. The alternative route to this idea is using Sukuna's domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. The basis of a shrine is it is actually a holy place due to its associations with a sacred person, which is generally marked by a building. Now, we've seen the building of Malevolent Shrine, but not what the shrine is actually for, nor the interior of the shrine. And this is where the theory becomes more insane. So the general idea is that the shrine is actually to worship Sukuna, and within this shrine is all the people who have offered their lives to Sukuna. Looking at the exterior of the shrine, we saw a pile of bones, and the shrine looks demonic. This could be a reflection of Sukuna's demonic personality, or potentially the bones of Sukuna's followers. Normally, people will provide a shrine with gifts, as it is a token of their respect and loyalty to the god in which they worship. However, in this case scenario, these people are offering their soul or perhaps their curse technique to Sukuna. Therefore, this shrine will take the person's life, and in turn Sukuna will gain that user's curse technique, as well as their cursed energy. This would also make sense as to why Sukuna is the only person who can access their black box, as he would be the only person to fill up his black box with lots of different curse techniques. So if the shrine's purpose was to grant Sukuna with the ability to steal curse techniques, then why would Sukuna always summon it in his fights? My only explanation for this would be that Malevolent Shrine also enhances Sukuna's curse techniques when Sukuna is within its radius. This is due to the shrine being of him, so it would make sense if it had boosted his stats whilst within the radius. There is also the possibility that the reason that modern day sorcerers and curses are unaware of this ability of Sukuna's was because when Sukuna died, the cult or group which worshipped him no longer had anyone to look up to, meaning that the cult would have slowly moved away from the idea of worshipping Sukuna. A different interpretation of Black Box could be that it is actually linked to Black Flash. I just did a video regarding the power of Black Flash and where it comes from, but what I didn't discuss was the connection it could have to Black Box. Maybe the reason that Yuji was blessed with the sparks of black was because he was born to be Sukuna's vessel. And going by this theory, it seems that Sukuna has complete mastery of a black box, and if these two things were intertwined, then it would make sense as to why Yuji is so proficient with Black Flash, as it is actually Sukuna's mastery seeping through into Yuji. It would also mean that one day, Yuji could gain a mastery of not only Black Flash, but Sukuna's ability to steal curse techniques. Another problem which could arise from this theory is why does Sukuna never showcase his arsenal of curse techniques earlier in this fight? And the answer to that is likely just he wanted to whittle down Gojo as far as he could without actually dying, and then he would unleash his full potential. So if Sukuna was actually hiding this many other curse techniques, Gojo could be in a hell of a lot of trouble. It would be near impossible for Gojo to adapt to each of these different techniques, especially if Sukuna was just spamming them left, right and center. And with his infinity soon going to run out as a result of Mahoraga, then it could be wraps for many of our favourite character in Jujutsu Kaisen. But that is all for this manga theory. If you did enjoy the video, then make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, as it means a lot to me as well as helping out the channel. But with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.